And now something completely different.
Good afternoon. I'm speaking to you live just outside
I like to think balding is just God's way of saying, now let's see you get laid.
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
What I'd really like to do is put the greatness of this man in perspective.
The hair loss community has a lot to be thankful for, having you as a spokesperson.
You mean you just call this guy up?
About life and about reality.
And now, America's #1 reality radio show for men. Live from Los Angeles, it's Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
Hey guys, welcome to The Bald Truth. Phone number is 888-659-3727. So great to be here. I'm Spencer Kobren, and this is The Bald Show. If you are new to the broadcast, if you don't know who I am or why I am here, I'm a consumer advocate for men and women suffering with hair loss. I'm the author of The Bald Truth and the Truth About Women's Hair Loss, and I am a guy who has been dealing with hair loss for more than 20 years. Now, if you're just tuning in, you've never seen me before. I mean, if you're listening, you have no idea what I look like. But if you've never seen me before, if you're watching the broadcast, you'll see that I still have hair on my head. I have been lucky enough to slow the progression of my hair loss using FDA-approved medication for the last 17 or 18 years. And I've saved enough where I can do a paint job. I could, do the quasi comb over with the hairspray, and voila. I'm a guy who looks like he has a decent head of hair. I have tried partial hair pieces. There are times when I've worn them, and I have no problem saying that. And, frankly, when the time comes, it's very possible that I'm going to embrace having surgical hair restoration or doing a combination of surgery with hair pieces. I'm a guy who's going to do whatever it takes to feel comfortable in my own skin. And frankly, for me, I just was not equipped to deal with hair loss. So what I chose to do is to educate myself, to learn everything that I can possibly learn about the hair loss industry. And that's what I've done. And that's what I'm here to do, to share with you. Here to share with you. You know what I'm talking about. 888-659-3727 is the toll-free number. Look, if you're new to the broadcast, this isn't just a place where we talk about products and treatments that work or might not work. This is a place where you guys can come and vent, to talk about a subject that society doesn't really allow us to talk about. 2/3 of you by the age of 35 will suffer with some degree of hair loss, and 40% of hair loss sufferers are women, but we still can't talk about it in our society. People still think it's screwed up to be concerned about your hair loss. As men, we're supposed to man up and deal with it, and women forget about it. They can't talk about it because they're shunned. People don't understand. People who don't deal with hair loss have no idea that so many women are dealing with hair loss. Not old women, not just middle-aged women, not women who are, just in their 40s and 50s. I just said middle-aged. But young women, 19, 20, 21, dealing with common androgenetic alopecia just like guys do. It's pretty heavy, but it's true. 888-659-3727. Now, I have to tell you guys, I'm a little worried tonight. For the first time in 14 years, I have not seen, Joe was not on the line before the show started. Now, I'm checking his line. Everything seems to be working. And there's no Joe. And normally, if he's not going to do the broadcast or call the show, he contacts us in some way. Either he tells me the week prior or he'll send me an email. So I'm a little concerned. So if anyone hears from Joe, let me know. We may have to try to call him live on the air. But his wife did promise us that if something happens to him, she will call us to let us know. So I hope Joe is okay. R.I.P. Joe. That's so cruel, Andrew. 888-659-3727. The phone lines are open. We are here to take your calls, to answer your questions. A lot of interesting things happening in the world of hair loss. I know that, every few months it seems like, there's some scientific breakthrough when it comes to hair loss that really never seems to develop anything that comes to fruition as far as a product or treatment. Last week, as you know, a few days ago, Japanese researchers were able to grow hair by manipulating stem cells of mice and then growing hair follicles and reimplanting those hair follicles that ended up growing. Now, if you see the video, you got a video of a mouse with a little mohawk. And everyone's like, what's the big effing deal with that? We've seen this before. The big deal is that more and more scientists, more and more researchers are doing this. This particular treatment may not be available. It may not become a treatment, this technology, for another 10 years. But it's just another path to the end of hair loss. And while in 10 years I'm going to be an old son of a bitch, and hopefully we're going to have other different treatment options way before then, it's still going to be another treatment in our arsenal that for guys a decade away, for the young cats out there who are just losing their hair now, they have even more hope. And I think it's pretty cool. I think that the guys that have been kind of poo-pooing this science in the chat rooms, I understand the bitterness. I understand everyone's like, oh, great, another treatment that's going to be 10 years away. I understand we all want it now. But at least they're doing something. At least there is research happening. When I was starting to lose my hair, there was nothing, man. Minoxidil wasn't even approved by the FDA for hair loss. I had shit to look forward to. And all I had were the lotions and potions being sold on television and the doctors who wanted to do hair transplants on me before I even needed them. Hair Club for Men who wanted to put a hairpiece on me and wasn't telling me it was a hairpiece. They somehow said it was like a magical system that was going to help me with my hair loss. Until I put their back to the wall, their feet to the fire, and made them tell me exactly what the process was. And that process was gluing hair on my head. And I guess they would have had to shave my head, which they didn't tell me at the time, in order to get this done. You guys have so much more to look forward to. And I know how impatient you all are. But, hell. Like I said, we had nothing, man. I was so lucky that I had the wherewithal to step away from the industry, not do anything prematurely, read an article in the New York Times about finasteride that still had not been approved by the FDA for hair loss, and find a doctor willing to prescribe me Proscar early on in the hair loss process. And no matter what people are saying about the drug at this point, and I know there are people who are suffering from adverse side effects for sure, my experience has been incredible so far. And I thank my lucky stars every day that, I took that leap. I had the courage to do it because back then we knew nothing about the drug except for what was being written about when it came to benign prostate hyperplasia, guys who were taking 5 milligram dosage. Dosage is, that's a tough word for me. Got a new angle here. But I don't know. I get discouraged when I hear and when I read, when I read the forums, and I see that everyone is just so embittered, so hopeless. They believe that, okay, this is just some more bullshit. We didn't even have this when I was starting out. You know who we had? We had Dr. Go with hair multiplication. That was what was being written about in the early message forums. And I'm talking about 14, 15 years ago. And to my knowledge, that still hasn't come to fruition. So much more has come down the pike since those early days. So I want you guys to please just, be cool. Realize that there is hope out there. Realize that I am convinced that companies like Replicell are, they're on their way. Adirans. These companies are racing towards this more effective treatments and eventually a cure. So the guy that's 21 years old, I do not believe he's going to be a bald guy at 31 if he chooses not to be. That's how I feel about that. 888-659-3727 is the toll-free number. I'm going to take your calls in a second. I'm having some trouble for some reason with the chat, and maybe it's just me. I don't know. I'm not... Okay, here I'm seeing it now. And, Andrew Zarian wants me to remind you guys that, you guys don't have to be GFQ viewers. You can actually just go into the menu of the chat, click on the menu button, and click on Change Nickname. And I'm going to do that right now. And when you do that, you can pick any nickname you want. My nickname is Bald Spence. And you guys in the chat will see me in there right now. What's happening, guys? 888-659-3727. I'm going to take a quick break. When I come back, I'm going to take your phone calls. And, wow, this is a crazy angle that I just put up this week. I will take your phone calls. If you have any questions, concerns about your hair loss, if you just need to vent. And I have to tell you, I'm a little worried about Joe. Usually I take his call first. We get to the news, and then I wait to take your calls. I may see if I can contact him now because I'm really worried about him. This is extremely unusual that Joe is not around. So I hope he didn't have a heart attack or something. 888-659-3727. I'm Spencer Kobren. You are listening to and watching The Bald Truth. Stay with us.
7 prestigious Golden Forehead Awards.
My family's always arguing. It always starts off innocent and then it gets vicious right away. So I was like, hey, looks like you're losing some hair. At least my wife's not a whore.
Spencer David Kobren.
Hey guys, welcome back. 888-659-3727 is the toll-free number. No news from Joe. So a little concerned, but we'll take your calls. 888-659-3727 is the toll-free number. If you're just tuning in, this is The Bald Truth. I think this is Johnny. I think this is the line I picked up for Johnny. Let's see. Hey, who's this?
Hey, how you doing, Spencer?
Hey, Johnny, what's happening, bro?
Oh, not much. Just a little worried about Joe not calling in, not at least being in the chat room.
There have been times when Joe has just overslept. Like he just takes so many drugs and he's just passed out, just boozing it up, and he just kind of the kid wakes him up like, half an hour into the broadcast.
Well, maybe that's it.
It's definitely possible. So what's happening, man? How's your week?
Well, it's going good. I have to say that the news out of Japan was encouraging.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we're old timers. For us, we remember how difficult it was when there was nothing.
All you had was Bosley magazines or Bosley ads in the back of magazines, late night Newhart commercials. I can go on and on.
Oh yeah, the Helsinki formula.
Helsinki formula.
Which
Robert Vaughn, wasn't it?
It was Robert Vaughn, and it was also what's his name, the really tan guy for a while.
It wasn't George Hamilton.
Yeah,
was
George
it?
Hamilton did it, and Robert Vaughn did it.
Oh, I didn't know George Hamilton did it. I remember Robert Vaughn.
And I
that's what we were exposed to as far as hair loss.
Yeah, and I figured, if George Hamilton was selling this stuff, it's got to be good. And I purchased it, and I paid the extra money for the applicator and the thing that you kind of rub your scalp with, this rubber device. And I probably bought it, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 months supply, back to back. And that's what we had. There was another company that I went to. I was living down in Bethesda, Maryland, for a short while. It's a company called Caracare. and they sold me this concoction. I just remember going up to this office, and it was just, just a regular office on Wisconsin Avenue in Bethesda. It was this old guy that claimed he's like a mad scientist, claimed that he's been growing all this hair on these guys, and you saw these great before and after pictures. And I was convinced that I still had a lot of hair, that whatever I was using, what he was providing me with was helping to some degree. And I was so convinced that he asked me to be on a radio show to promote his product. And when I went into the studio, I had this pretty full head of hair at that point. People were shocked. And I just remember I was just so stupid that I actually thought I was excited. And he gave me some free, some free product as well. So I was excited that I met this guy and that I was going to save my hair. And that's what we had, man. You know what? A lot is still the same. It really hasn't changed as far as what's being sold out there and how it's being sold. The only thing that's changed now, thank God, is that there are real treatments out there. There's real science that's behind doing this research. When we were around, when we started, we didn't have that. But sadly, even with all of that, even with all the information that we provide through these resources, through baldtruthtalk.com, through the American Hair Loss Association, every day people are getting ripped off. Tomorrow there are going to be people who are going to be disfigured. And a lot of it has to do with, in my view, people are stubborn. They find our resources, but we're not selling anything. They want to get helped tomorrow.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that there's people being disfigured. That was a lot of that going pre the Bald Truth and others. I mean, it was you didn't have surgeons out there that were vetted. I mean, you had guys that basically were doctors, hung a shingle out, says, "Hey, I do hair transplants." They'd have these glossy-looking photos, and hey, I want that type of look. And when you put the money down, you never got that. You got nothing but scars and a lot of heartache.
And you know what? You're still getting that though. It's going to happen tomorrow morning, Johnny. People are going to be totally screwed. They've saved their money. They've maybe taken off a week of work. Maybe they sold their car or whatever. They're financing the hair transplant, but they chose the wrong facility, the wrong doctor. And they are making this emotional investment, this financial investment into a procedure that's only going to make them look worse. With that said, very few people are coming away with these horrific scars that used to be the norm for surgical hair restoration. But it's still there. It's
not like in the 90s. Like I'm sure you've seen countless number of guys that went and had hair transplants by doctors that shouldn't even be allowed to operate on animals, much less human beings.
Yes, absolutely. I'm reading the chat, Johnny, and there's a lot of stuff going on. There are guys in there that are saying that, if they lose their hair, if they get to the point where they're Norwood 5, they don't want to live. Johnny, from a guy who's had the experience, and you've had the experience of not only significantly balding, but having a bad hair transplant. I want you to tell these guys, there is life after hair loss. There is. You just got to dig deep down inside of yourself, and there's ways of getting around it. Like you do with different cosmetics, and there is hope out there that there's going to be a cure. There is some surgical. There's some surgeons out there that can help them. If you're not ready for a hair transplant, don't do it, because once you're cut, as you always say. But there is life after hair loss. It's not, if you can shave your head and do it and go on with life, man, God bless you. I wish I would have done that 20 years ago, but I didn't. Well, and we have a question here by unidentified 64157, and the question is, I have a question, Spencer Corbin, I have a question. Why can't I lower my hairline by 1 to 1.5 centimeters? I have a Norwood 2. I want to fill out the temporals and lower the whole hairline. I use Propecia to keep it in place. What FUE surgeon can you recommend? I'm going to tell you something, dude. As bad as you think you look right now with a slightly recessed hairline, if you have shock loss from hair transplant surgery, you're really going to feel like you screwed yourself up. You're going to be in a much more depressed situation than you are right now. And to answer your question, shock loss can recover, but in some guys, for whatever reason, it doesn't recover, or it doesn't recover 100%. So it's very possible. Once you go down that road, even with FUE, you're still being cut. You may not have a strip scar, but you're still having surgery. So, it's a risk, man. It's a big risk. And the truth of the matter is, you may be unhappy with the results. You may end up saying, well, even though the hair grew, I may look worse than I did before. Why didn't I just keep the hairline that I have? The fact that you're on finasteride, you have a good chance of slowing or stopping the progression and living your life for many years with a decent head of hair. I'm telling you, man, you got to learn to accept it, because it could be a lot worse. I'd hate to see you, just go into the knife and then feel like you've destroyed your life. And that's my response to that.
Well said.
Yeah, hold on. Questions from
I don't understand why someone would want to. I can understand they may have receded a little bit, but coming from someone that's been there, I would suggest that you try to get an age-appropriate hairline, and with the meds, it may, like you said, slow it down, and you'll look age-appropriate. That's what I want to look.
Listen, when I started to lose my hair, I wanted to get my hairline back right away. I almost went to have a transplant. I was lucky enough not to do it. I was in a panic. We all want to look our best. We all want to, I was going to say screw. When we're kids especially, we all want to meet and have sex with the most beautiful women that we can. And we think that we're going to be eliminated because of our hair loss. The truth of the matter is, we're really not. You eliminate yourself because of your concerns about your hair loss. And yes, there will be women that might not find you as attractive. And frankly, you might not be as physically attractive, just like if someone looked at a picture of you, saw you walking down the street. But there's so much you can do to improve that and to improve your stock. And I'm here to tell you that as you get older, and you become successful in life, no matter what your hair looks like, and I got a crazy comb over happening, your stock goes up with women. It really does. And no matter what people think, they really find you attractive. It's not like, well, I'm just going with this guy for the money. They find the fact that you are successful, that you're able to do things that other men can't do, that you're able to strive and succeed in whatever given field that you've chosen. That's sexy to women. And it goes well beyond just the physical. Believe me, women get very tired of the guy who's just like a male stripper, especially when he's 35 years old. He could still have great abs and a great chest and a great full head of hair, and they may want to have sex with him once or twice, but eventually they're just disgusted by those guys.
They don't want a guy that's better looked or prettier than they are.
They absolutely don't. That's the God's honest truth. And Andrew's sending me a couple of questions from the chat room. Guy wants to know about, and I can never pronounce this correctly, alfaltridol. I can't pronounce it. But I will tell you that I know what it is. It's basically a drug that was approved in Germany for hair loss, mostly for female pattern hair loss. And I know there are guys in the U.S. and other people in other countries that are using it. I haven't. From what I understand, it's not quite as effective as minoxidil. I think that it may be a decent, adjunct treatment. And I do know that there are people who are getting results with it. So, I really don't have much to say about it, except it is definitely approved for hair loss in Germany. And I can never pronounce it. I'm like half of a moron, especially tonight. But I'm worried. I got to tell you, man. I'm worried. I'm thinking. I got the questions here. I'm going to take some calls, but I'm worried about Joe.
Do you have his number, Spencer?
Yeah, I have it somewhere. I don't have it in this computer here. I would have to actually, maybe take a break and see if I can find it.
Yeah, that is very odd for Joe not to at least drop you a line somehow and say, hey, I'm not going to be here. I'm going to be late. That's just not him, and not have one of his kids wake him up.
Yeah, well, he may call in a panic and say, oh, my God, I can't believe, I fell asleep. I've been ingesting 17 steaks and 4 Valiums and, whatever he does. So
yeah, well, and lamb chops.
All right, Johnny, listen, I'll let you go. I'll answer some questions in chat room and take some calls, and we'll see if we can find Joe. Thanks a lot, man.
All right. Mm-hmm. Bye.
All right. Another question from the chat room. They want me to talk a little bit about how diet can affect how well Propecia can work. I will tell you that I'm a firm believer that diet affects the way medication works in your body. And when I wrote The Bald Truth, the first edition of The Bald Truth, I wrote an entire chapter on diet and how you can use diet to help to balance your hormones. And I was lucky enough to have the great Dr. Barry Sears write a couple of pages for my first book, talking about the zone diet, and which is basically a sugar balancing diet and a castanoid balancing diet. And really, the bottom line is, when it comes to food, when it comes to trying to control your glycemic index or your sugar, the reason you want to do that is if you can keep your sugar in check, you're not going to have these tremendous spikes in your insulin levels. When you have these tremendous spikes in insulin levels, when you eat a lot of like complex carbs, like starchy carbs, like potatoes and pasta and bread, white breads and stuff like that, you end up spiking your testosterone as well. And if you're doing that consistently throughout the day, there is some science and some thought behind the belief that you're actually going to be creating more DHT. And you're going to be fighting against, if you are taking finasteride, you're going to be creating more DHT in your system, and you're just not going to do as well, in my view, on the drug. And Dr. Barry Sears agreed with me back in 1998, and since then, a lot of other doctors have discussed it and have agreed with that theory. I'm a firm believer in that. And I can tell you, when I am not eating well, and especially the times in my life when I really was screwing myself up, drinking too much and not eating well at all, I felt that the drug wasn't working as well for me. And I went through sheds, and the hair quality itself just wasn't as good. So I'm a firm believer in diet. I definitely am. 888-659-3727. And you guys want to know about David Hall? I put a call into Replicel this week. They're supposed to get back to me. They have not gotten back to me yet. I think there's a lot of things happening, in the pipeline, and maybe they don't want to tip their hand, so to speak. But I know that usually they only take a few days to get back to me, so I hope that they will get back to me by tomorrow or the next day. I'm going to take a quick break. I am going to see if I can find Joe's number because I'm concerned about him, but I will take your calls. 888-659-3727 is the toll-free number. I'm Spencer Kobren. You're listening to and watching The Bald Truth. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
The winner of 7 prestigious Golden Forehead Awards.
My family's always arguing. It always starts off innocent and then it gets vicious right away. So I was like, hey, looks like you're losing some hair. At least my wife's not a whore.
Spencer David Kobren.
Hey guys, welcome back. 888-659-3727 is the toll-free number. Guys, I'm going to have to ask you to really be respectful in the chat room. Try not to, use capitals and yell at each other. Respect each other. This is a safe haven, supposed to be a safe haven for hair loss sufferers. So please do not yell at each other and insult each other in the chat room, because it's just not going to be allowed. 888-659-3727 is the toll-free number. And Scorpion, if you want to call in, you're going to have to call through the toll-free number at 888-659-3727. I'm going to take a phone call. Hey, you're on the air.
If Joe was here, he'd be castigating the chat room.
Oh, my God. It would be insane. Dude, I'm going to have to, listen, I want everyone to have the opportunity to vent and to speak their mind, but there has to be respect. They have to respect each other in the chat room. And, Scorpion, I want you to be able to be here and enjoy the program and ask questions and to be a part of things. And we want to be able to help you. But you just got to chill a little bit, just be cool, because, everyone here is here to help each other.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well said. No, you know what I called in? I'm noticing, and I find it interesting that there's this line that's drawn between who's really a sufferer and who's not. And people have to remember what it was like when they were, just starting to lose their hair and what kind of feelings they had when they just started to lose their hair, rather than thinking in order to be a full sufferer, you have to be like a Norwood 6.
Well, yeah, and I think that's exactly that's a good point, and that's not the truth. I mean, look at this guy. I'm going to bring up Scorpion again. I mean, he's a young guy, probably. It seems like he's pretty young, and he has just the beginnings of hair loss, but he's really suffering. I was the same way. I was the exact same way. I was miserable because of my hair loss, especially at a very young age, when I knew that it was just starting to happen. But I eventually came to grips with the idea that, you know what, I'm going to do my best to solve this problem. But if I can't, in the way in which that I want to, meaning that I keep all of my hair, then I will do something, either wear a prosthesis or get a hair transplant. I just came to terms with it.
Yeah, I mean, we still have some options. I know it's not too much to choose from, but we could still save something if it works for us. I mean, there is something out there.
No, absolutely. And Scorpion wants to know when I started taking finasteride. I started to take finasteride 17 years ago, and I've been on almost 18 years now. And I've been on it religiously, doing intermittent therapy, and I believe that it's definitely helped me over the years. So,
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've spoken to you, and I've called in a lot of times and said, I feel like my hair is falling out a little bit, it's thinning out in the front. I show you my hair every day. I literally Skype you, and I show you just my hair.
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, you are just the typical hair loss sufferer who you may not be losing hair yet, but you think that because, I don't know if it's the show or what, but when I first met you, you really didn't talk about it. The first, I'd say 6 months, you were a guy who you didn't even think about hair loss. Maybe you didn't watch the show as often.
No, I did. I always thought about it, but I wasn't to this level of understanding what it's like. Yeah, I think it's also an age thing. As I get older, I'm noticing that it's not as full as it was. And you say it's probably a maturing hairline. It's not that I'm really losing my hair or thinning out. It's just maturing because of my age. But I'm that's a big fear that I have now, and I think the show attributes to a lot of it.
I don't want to attribute to your fears, man. I want to be able to I'm here to help people. I don't want you to think that you're going to lose your hair because you're involved in this crazy chat and watching the program and on the message forums, man.
See, and then someone in the chat room writes, Andrew's hair looks thinner in the front since the last time I saw his show. Yes, the maturing hairline. Then I just want to jump off the ledge. Yeah,
and why do people do that? I got to ask you guys in the chat. I mean, I guess misery loves company. But why would you do that to anybody? Why is it so important for you guys to...
No, you know what it also is? And I agree with them. Spence. He is seeing something. It's also that I gel my hair back a lot now.
Right.
So it's all clumped together. So you're going to see the hair compared to, a year ago, my hair was totally different. You really didn't notice it.
Yeah.
And maybe I should go back to that hairstyle.
Well, you can. If you want to. I think you look great with your hair pulled back. I mean, I've seen you with, you'll Skype me like in the morning, all freaked out, and you'll show me your hair and you don't have any product in it, and you look like, a 10-year-old boy. It's ludicrous. So why don't you just wear your hair like that? No one could, goof on you. No one can tell you that you have a mature hairline.
Dave in the chat room says that I should go back to the old hairstyle, too.
Right, then do it, man.
It gets crazy. So where's Joe? Is he dead?
I don't know, man. I have to actually find his number. I usually, we communicate by email when we do communicate, and I know that I have his number somewhere in my. He hasn't called me in a while, so I don't know if it's in my phone or my other phone. But I'm a little worried. This is odd. He did not contact me, so I'm hoping that everything's okay. I hope he's not in the hospital or something. I mean, I think that
I'm a little worried.
I think that if he was actually dead, his wife would have called.
You think is that I know that's like in his will, right?
I don't know if it's actually in the will, but it's definitely a plan. He told his wife, and Phyllis agreed that she would inform all of us if something happened.
I don't know. I feel bad for him. I really do. It's a bad situation this dude is in.
Dude, a lot of these guys are in bad situations.
But to not to dwell too much on Joe, but I honestly think if he woke up tomorrow and he had a full head of hair, it wouldn't change a thing about him.
It would change something about him, but I don't think that it would really make his life that much better. I think he would just realize, okay, now I have my hair. What my life still sucks because he made it the way that it is. He didn't watch his children growing up. He didn't enjoy his wife. He doesn't enjoy anything. So it's rough, man.
It's screwed up. But
that's why all these guys, I don't mean to cut you off, all these guys who are in the chat, all the guys in the message forum, the guys, this guy Scorpion who's on our message forum and in the chat, I just want you to know, man, there's so much that you can do with your life that it's not hair-based or looks-based. I am telling you, take it from a guy who, when I was young, I was probably significantly better looking than I am at this point. And I thought it was all going downhill. And you know what? My mind was a little screwed up. I drank more than I should have, and I did things that I probably shouldn't have because I was so depressed. But it never really affected my ability to meet women, really good-looking women. And once I realized that there's so much more to me than my hair, and I kind of pointed it out to people that my hair was fucked up, and after a while, it just became like no one even looked. No one even cared.
Yeah, I think the confidence goes a long way. You're right, Spence. I went out to dinner with Jess for my anniversary on Friday after the show, and we were sitting at dinner, and there was a couple behind us, and the guy was a full-blown, Norwood Stick. I mean, and he had the side hair thing going too, and his wife was beautiful, or the girlfriend, or whoever he was with, was beautiful. I mean, much younger than him, stunning. And it just shows you that, it's not really always the hair. The personality also goes a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to tell you, man, Scorpion, I don't want to have to say this, but because we are doing a broadcast, even though it's on the internet, by law, we have to, if you're actually threatening suicide, we have to contact the authorities and trace your IP and all that stuff. So I just hope that you're kidding, man, because I don't want to be involved in that, and I don't want you to really feel that you need to harm yourself because of your hair loss. We're here to help you, man. We all want to help you. Listen, I am a guy that built a career based on my depression over my hair loss. I turned lemons into lemonade in a way that, I believe most people have trouble doing, but anybody can do that. So please don't talk about harming yourself, man. It's scary, dude. Man. He's like, I don't have good hair, dude. This is a comb over. All right, I'm pretty thin in the back. I paint my scalp. I have a recessed hairline. In the morning, I look like a freak.
I could attest to that. I've seen Spencer's hair in person. It's like a helmet.
Thank you for that. But yes, it is. It is like a helmet. Son of a bitch, man.
It looks great though, Spence. I'll tell you, looks great.
I appreciate that. I'm never gonna. I can't meet you in person anymore. It's
Jessica
all over.
Said it's a work of art. It's a work of art. It should be in a museum.
Son of a bitch.
It should.
Well, I appreciate it.
You should be proud of it.
I am proud of it. It takes me. I sweat doing it. I'm sweating putting it together. You know what? I'm gonna stay on hold for a second, man. I want to see who this is. All right.
Okay. All right.
Hey, you're on the air. Who's this?
Hey, Spencer. How you doing? It's Philly Tony.
Hey, Philly Tony. How are you, man?
I'm doing all right. I wanted to give a call in because I'm kind of in a bad place with with my decision process on getting a hair transplant. I kind of, you know how much I flip-flop. I'm sure you remember some conversations we had. And, I've come, I'm the type of person who I'll go forward with something and I'll try to push until, and then and just hope that it happens, hopefully that, nothing pops into my head that deters me from doing really what I want to do. And
yes.
I don't know if that makes any sense, but
it does. It does. And I've actually tried to tell you that, you really have to you really have to know what's going on, to make that decision. You can't just jump into it just because you want to do it so badly that you need to get this done you think that it's going to improve your life. once you're cut, you're cut. I've been trying to tell you that, since you've been calling the program. And, I want everyone to know that while I'm an advocate for great hair transplants, I'm also an advocate for hair loss sufferers. And I always say surgery is a last resort.
Yeah. The two thoughts that come to my head kind of swayed me, to just pause is, number one is that I feel like, being in Norwood 6, that 4,500 grafts puts me into a place where the one beauty about being in Norwood 6 is I'm bald. There's no hiding anything. There's no, smoke and mirrors trying to hide that fact. And then I kind of, with 4,500 grafts, I put myself back into a position where I'm, again, balding, thinning and balding and, having to hide things or do my hair in a certain way. And,
yeah.
And that kind of hit me, and I'm like, it's a considerable amount of money for a guy that's in my financial situation. And it's like, does it really put me where I want to be,
Well, you know what? Then you made your decision. I mean, if you're even second guessing it, if you think to yourself, all right, even if it comes out perfectly, I'm going to the best doctor that I can find. I think you were thinking about going to Victor Hassan, right?
Yes.
Or Dr. Wong. And you think that even if everything works out, every graft grows perfectly, you have, everything that's supposed to happen happens. If you're not going to be happy with that, then you shouldn't have a hair transplant. Because it could be worse. Maybe only, you get a 80% result that you're happy. It's not 100%. How would you be affected by that? But if you're in a position where you realize that 4,500 grafts isn't going to make you 100% happy, that's a lot of money and a lot of grafts. So I would probably reconsider.
Yeah, and then the other piece of it is it's not a permanent solution either. It still requires, some of the things that you learn as you go along. It still requires using finasteride. It still requires using Propecia. And I'm the type of guy is that even if what they're saying about Propecia isn't true, once you plant that seed in my mind that possible sexual side effects, there's only one thing in my mind that's worse than going bald, other than some kind of medical, cancer or something.
Right.
And that sexual side effect.
Yeah, and I agree with that. If you can't deal with it, if you think it's going to happen to you, it's going to happen to you. And I'm not here to push people to get on finasteride. I talk about it because it's worked for me. I think it's a fantastic drug for so many people who've had good experiences with it. But there are those who've had bad experiences with it for sure. So if you don't want that, if you don't even take that chance, and that it's a real risk for sure. So, I get it. So maybe at this point, are you shaving your head? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, I shave my head. I'm really pretty miserable with the way it looks. I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of, because I didn't, maybe if I knew what Propecia would have done when it first came out, I would have started taking it and I'd be at a different place today. But I really do feel like even though there's so much hope about different things coming down the pike, that I am truly in the same place today as I was in 1993, as far as, hair loss goes. There really is nothing that I feel for myself a viable solution or even something that makes me happy right now.
I mean, would you ever consider wearing a system?
To me, especially the whole thing about hair loss is that thought of you're hiding something's fake. That I respect. Nothing. I know you do all that smoke, stuff in your head, but I don't want to.
How dare you? Yeah.
I don't know how to say it, but I just...
You don't want to hide your hair loss like I do. I'm a sham. I tell the world, man, and I get it. I choose to do this because it makes me feel better. And maybe because this is my living, this is what I do, and I talk about it so much, I'm not really hiding it. People kind of accept me for who I am because I talk about it. But the average guy, I get it. You don't want to kind of be outed. You don't want to end up on a date and then someone pulling your comb over down or, saying, why do you have makeup on your head if they look too closely? I could see that. I can definitely see that.
Yeah, it's annoying, and it just brings me back to the point where, and even with all these new, cellular based type hair transplants and stuff that they're doing with stem cells, and the more I read these forums, and you can go back like 8 years on these forums where people were talking about the same thing. And I got to be honest with you, Spencer, it's scary as hell to think that, like, if this all this stuff that gives you hope today, like, we could be talking about this 8 years from now. I just get that feeling, like, it's just.
Well, I have to say, I'm kind of glad that you've come to terms with it, because when you first started to call the program, you're one of the type of guys that I try to talk out of having a hair transplant. You seemed you were like you were on the fence from the very beginning, and what you're talking to me about right now is very logical. We don't know what's going to happen in a few years. If you're unwilling to take finasteride, and you think you won't be happy with a large hair transplant session, then you have to somehow figure out a way to come to grips with your baldness and live a happy life in your current situation. Do you think that's possible?
Probably with some work. I gotta be honest with you, probably some like soul searching and maybe some work. I don't know how to really put it, but
How old are you now?
Yeah, probably.
How old are you now?
How old?
Yeah.
39.
You're 39. All right. Well, I mean, you're not a kid. And I'm sure a lot of your contemporaries, your friends probably have some hair loss, right?
Yeah, I do have a couple. I'll be honest, a couple of my friends started taking Propecia. It's amazing what, I kind of like lost track of him. A friend of mine just told me he's been taking it since he was 26, and he's got a full head of hair today. His father was bald just like mine was, and
well, the shit works, man. There's no doubt about it. It works. It's worked for me. It's worked for all of my friends who were my contemporaries, kids that I grew up with. My buddy Raph, my other friend, he doesn't like his name mentioned on the air. I've known these guys. One guy I've known since I was 10 years old. The other guy since I was 15. One guy that I knew since the age of 6. His brother has been on it for. He's decided not to take it. His brother's been on it for maybe 8 or 9 years. He's had 2 kids on the drug. He's perfectly healthy, and he has a full head of hair. He started earlier than I did as far as catching it. So, it works. It works. But I certainly understand why you don't want to take that risk, because if you are part of that, 0.01, whatever percentage of guys who are suffering with these long-term adverse side effects, then you're fucked. And if it's in your mind to begin with, then I get it.
I just feel like it puts me into this, like, back to this, I'll be honest with you, I was kind of like done with hair loss or even the hope of any type of cure until recently, like not recently, I guess it was 2007 when I first kind of saw, like, the whole Follica, University of Pennsylvania, stuff that was going on, and they talked about 4 or 5 years down the road, and then, like, now we're 5 years down the road, and, we're still kind of in the same place.
How do you think I feel? When I started to do my initial interviews, there were people telling me that it was going to be 5 years. This is in 1996 when I started to do interviews for my book. So believe me, I'm frustrated too, man. And look, even this morning, I couldn't have the day that I wanted to because I knew I had to get ready for the show. A normal person, he takes a shower, and how long does it take? 15 minutes to get ready? I need an hour. I need an hour. I got to cut my day short to make sure that I'm in that shower so that I can do this craziness, so I can look normal. So, I mean, who's the lucky one here? Maybe you're the lucky one.
And, that's part of what came into my mind when I started thinking about getting the hair transplant. Was like, wait, I'm back in a position where, I'm going to probably be trying to hide the spots that don't get covered by the transplant and comb it a certain way. And like now, I shave it down and I'm out the door and I'm bald. That's it. You know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong, I don't like it, but
there may be a day when I come on the air when I'm about to say, screw all you mother effers, and I shave my head and I'm like, good night. And you know what? Maybe that day will come. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't had surgery. I chose not to have surgery for several reasons. And one is I'm concerned about shock loss. I still have enough to kind of, to cover up my baldness. And, 2, I didn't know if I ever wanted the option to shave my head. And, I always tell people, once you cut, you're cut. You have that linear scar. If you choose to shave your head, you have to be comfortable enough to know that that scar is going to be visible to the world. There are guys who are comfortable. I see guys in the street with it, and they don't really look that bad. It kind of looks like, maybe they got whacked in the head with a bat or something. So, all right, man. Well, listen, I always appreciate the call. I'm glad that you've kind of come to an epiphany. It's not written in stone. Surgery is always going to be there for you.
Absolutely. You're right.
All right, bro. Well, I hope the show helped you out in your decision as well.
It always does.
All right, bro. Listen, thanks for the call. Take care.
All right, Spencer. Take care. Have a good night.
You too. 888-659-3727. Let me say hi to Andrew Zarian real fast. And I got some calls on the line, so I will take your calls in a second. Hey, Andrew, what's happening in the chat?
A lot's happening, actually. They have a lot of questions, and they're sending it my way. They want to know, let's see, where the chat. I've been sending you some questions, actually.
Yeah, is the feed frozen, or is it just for me? Maybe it's my bandwidth on my computer or something.
It might be you. You might be having some problems. No, everything seems fine here.
All right, good.
Someone in the chat room says they switched to DUT.
Dutasteride.
I've been on fine for about a year. I'm a Norwood 2 at the age of 27. Hair loss started a year ago. I'm willing to risk significant side effects just as long as I get my hair back.
Well, listen, I know guys, before people were concerned about the significant side effects, guys who switched to dutasteride, there were a lot of doctors who were putting their patients on dutasteride, and they've had no adverse side effects. I know one guy who's been on it for over 10 years, or when was it approved? 2002, right? Or was it 2001? Something like that. For that period of time, since it was first put on the market, the guy's got a really good head of hair, and he's had no side effects. I know an attorney that works for, I'm not even going to say who because it's a government agency, and he used to call the program a lot. I actually worked with them to help change some language with one very well advertised hair loss product on television. I helped to change some of the verbiage in their packaging. And he's a really nice guy who was on finasteride for a while. He thought he was losing ground pretty early on. He switched to dutasteride. This is probably 8 years ago. He's been on it ever since. The guy's in his late 40s, and his hair looks incredible. So it works. These drugs work for a lot of guys. So if you're willing to take that risk, remember, it's a risk. Anytime you put a drug in your body, it's a risk. I had to take some medication for some bronchitis recently. And I'm not even going to say what the medication is, but when you read the side effects and the possible complications of this medication, even in the short term, including adverse sexual side effects, no one would want to take it. And I know that I had to take this for my health, and hair loss isn't necessarily affecting your physical health. But listen, it takes an emotional toll on us, which could affect us physically. So people have to understand there's a risk with everything. So anyway.
No, there definitely is. And listen, everybody goes on the risk, and it's your choice to go on the risk. You've said it before in the past. Millions of women are on birth control, and that has severe sexual side effects.
Absolutely.
But you don't see people screaming about class action lawsuits and how it's ruined their lives.
Yeah, or threatening to kill you,
Yeah, and listen, it happens, especially with finasteride. I mean, it's known to cause it, but you also have to put into other things that are factors in this. Age, any other medications,
smoking, drinking, all that stuff.
Smoking, drinking, any kind of other, drugs. A lot of this comes into play. I was on Propecia for over a month, and I had no side effects. Now, it was really early to tell if it was actually working on me, but I had no side effects from it, and I was 24, 25 years old.
Right, and most guys are the same, and it's true. You brought up birth control. I mean, if you look up oral contraceptives, if you look up birth control pills and adverse sexual side effects, there are thousands and thousands of women who have been off the pill. They get off the pill. When they're on the pill, they feel less sexual. They have a lowered libido. They have problems with orgasm. And then even years after getting off the pill, it doesn't seem to go back to normal. Now, you don't see, like you said, these class action lawsuits pertaining to adverse sexual side effects and birth control. Now, you may see things about blood clots and heart attacks, but the everyday orthotricycline and other Yaz and all these birth control pills, they have a whole host of severe adverse side effects. And these drugs are prescribed to women, young girls, like candy in this country. And this is a drug that has, a very small percentage of people dealing with adverse side effects and a much smaller percentage of people dealing with long-term adverse side effects. But holy shit, if you talk about it, people want to kill you.
Listen, you'd be getting laid a lot more if guys just wore rubbers.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Listen, a lot of these medications will do it, but that doesn't mean that it should be, taken off the market, or it should be, it's bad for everybody. It helps a nice chunk of people that are on finasteride and a lot of these other medications. It's a saver for them. I mean, look at you. You're a great example of saving your hair.
Well, I saved a lot of it. It's like
a lot of it.
But I have to tell people it's a bit of a sham. I don't want people to think that I have a full head of hair from finasteride, because I don't. And like I said, I've tried partial hair pieces, and I've chosen to paint my head, and I did all kinds of things. But I will say that I wouldn't have had as many options if it wasn't for finasteride. If I choose to get a hair transplant, I'm in a much better position than I would have been if I didn't take the drug. If I choose to wear hair, I'm in a much better position to have that hair blend in with, I have a significant amount of hair in my head. And now that I'm choosing to paint, the paint job's not that noticeable because I still have a lot of hair. So it just increased Go ahead.
How would a partial piece work, Spence? I'm not too familiar with it.
Well, you could either cut a very small, make a small partial piece to create a hairline that can be glued in front of your own hairline, or if you have a significant bald patch, you can just kind of have, say it's 3 inches in diameter. You can have a piece made to that size, kind of like a Ted Danson, and just have it attach it to your scalp and have it cut into your haircut, and it just kind of adds density without having like a big total hairpiece on your head. So a lot of guys can do that. A lot of women end up doing that. Companies don't want to sell partial hair pieces for the most part because they're not making as big of a profit. They figure, okay, it's a tiny little piece of hair. Who's going to pay me $3,000 for that? But you can go online and you can, make your own template, and you can have whatever you want, basically. People with, chronic alopecia areata, if they just have it like in one spot where it doesn't spread, they could actually get a very small quarter-sized hairpiece to replace that hair. And people do that. So there you go. So when you're ready, dude, if you want a partial hairpiece, I'll hook you up.
No, I'm hoping the hair gods at the Bald Truth save mine.
Well, we're gonna try, dude. I'm gonna take another phone call. I don't know if you want to hang out or if you got shit to do.
I got to go back to the wife.
Okay, all right, dude. Listen, thank you so much for hanging out. Thanks for the call, and we'll talk soon. All right, take it easy.
Have a good show.
All right,
bye.
Andrew Zarian, Guys from Queens. You can check him out at guysfromqueens.com and, of course, gfqlive.tv. And on Friday nights, I do a program with Andrew and the guys and Coco and the guys. Andrew and Coco from the GFQ network, the free-for-all, non-hair related. So if you guys decide to check out the show, we're not going to talk about hair. Let's take this phone call. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this?
Yeah, I meant to apologize for not being there on Friday this week, Spence.
Oh, Coco. How are you, man?
Hey, what's going on? What's going on,
What's
man?
happening? So why weren't you there on Friday?
I don't know if I want to discuss it right now. Maybe Friday, or maybe in private.
Oh, you can't make up a story? You can't make up something for the show?
I could, but I mean, it probably wouldn't be good.
All right. So what's happening?
Not much. I've been listening to you guys, to the show, and I've been in the chat room, and it's just like really depressing, man.
It is depressing. You know what's depressing? It's depressing when there's guys who are so desperate that they think they have no other choice or no hope except for having an incredible head of hair. I think you're a great example of someone who you're losing your hair, but you're dealing with it rationally.
Yeah, I mean, the last guy who called, not Andrew, obviously, the guy before him,
Yeah.
who's told him about, shaves his head, walks out the door, and, lives his life. I mean, it's not something that I myself am really, excited about. It's like, all right, well, I'm going bald, well, whatever, screw it. It's not, I'm not, like, super happy about it, but I can deal with it. I've been through a lot of shit, and, that's like the least of my problems. It's like I'm reading the guy in the chat room saying how he's, he doesn't want to live if he can't have a full head of hair, and it's really depressing, man. There's so many things in this, I don't know. It's like going bald. It happens. You know what I mean? It's like I understand that it can be very painful for people to go through that because everybody wants to be beautiful. There's a whole
sure.
Well,
a lot of guys, it's not even about being beautiful. It's just looking the way they did, feeling like, okay, I'm passable with hair. I don't look that great without it, or I'm ugly without it. And a lot of guys feel that way. I was a guy that was like, oh man, I just don't want to go through this. It really fucked me up at a young age. But again, I talk about how I've evolved and I've learned to deal with things. And while my hair is not perfect, it's a lot better than it would have been if I didn't do something about it. So I chose to make certain decisions. But I think the best route for most people is just to let it go, man. Live your life, because this is aggravating. Dealing with taking a drug that I don't know what the hell it's going to do to me in 10 years or in 5 years or in 2 years or who knows. I mean, that does weigh on your mind to some degree. I think about that, and I tell all my listeners, that at this point I have no side effects, but who knows? I may end up growing breasts at some point or whatever.
No, I understand, but I mean, I'm also not really digging some of the the advice that's going on in the chat room either. There's a guy saying that he's got the horseshoe going on, and someone's like, "Well, there's no cure for that. You're going to have to wear a hat until they find a cure for that." It's like, why not just say, "Dude, just either shave it all off," or "Dude, be proud of who you are, no matter what it looks like." It's like, no, you're going to have to wear a hat, dude.
Yeah.
It's that's messed up to tell somebody. It's like me today, it's like, I see a neighbor, this guy is always kind of an asshole. I don't think he knows he's being an asshole, but, he'll come up to me and be like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" It's like, "Oh, you're keeping the weight up, but you did gain some," It's like, dude, don't say anything. Let me alone.
Yeah.
It's like,
why even bring that shit up?
Exactly. It's like, it's like, I went through the whole weight loss thing. I did, and I gained a lot back, but I'm feeling good about life right now. You know what I mean? Things are really good. It's like the hair. It's like, it's like people tell me, it's like, wow, I can't believe how fast your hair grew back. It's like, I know I have that spot in the back, and it's like when I went to my barber to get it done, he's like, "Oh, I'm going to make it look good now because you got more hair,"
Right.
And it's like, it doesn't matter. It's like, yeah, I would shave it, completely, but it's like, I know, for me, myself, I want to have some hair, because I don't have a girlfriend right now, and, that might make a difference, but, it's not like I go and I, hide that I'm balding in the back, you know?
Well, you also live with a shaved head. You've shaved your head in the past.
Yeah, I've done it, and I would do it again.
But I think it's important that guys like Scorpion and other people who are suffering out there, who are even talking about suicide, listen to a guy like Coco.
Dude, I mean, that's the worst way to think about anything. There's nothing worth your life. You know what I mean? There's nothing worth you taking your life for, whether it's a woman, whether it's your hair, whether you're fat, people make fun of you, whatever. It's like, dude, you'll get through it. I mean, it might take longer than some people. It's easy to say, dude, get over it, let it go, whatever. And it's like, I wish that I could just tell these people, dude, get over it. No, because sometimes you just can't get over it. Take your time, deal with it. Don't get over it, deal with it, but don't let it kill you. Don't let the problem eliminate you. Try to eliminate the problem. If there's no cure for baldness, it's like you got to go on living your life without your hair.
And that's what I've been trying to preach for the last 15 years, and people don't understand that. There are the guys that have been listening to me for a long time, a lot of these guys have evolved to the point where maybe they had a hair transplant and they're just happy with the hair that they have, and they're not spending all their time on the message forums. And if they are in the message forums, they're trying to help other people. So I want to tell all the young guys out there, and I'm going to focus on this kid Scorpion because, he seems very disturbed about what's going on in his life, and I understand it. And there's a lot of guys out there who are like, they're reporting his postings, and we're trying to just give him an opportunity to vent and to talk about his frustrations, and hopefully evolve his point of view to the point that he doesn't feel suicidal about his hair loss. I want to provide resources to help this kid, and I hope that the show is doing that. I hope that by you calling in, Coco, that you're providing him with a little solace, because I got to tell you, what you say makes so much sense, and you've been through a lot of shit.
Well, because, dude, that's what I'm saying, man. I have been through a lot, and it's like, it's really easy for people to say, like, your weight is something that you can control.
Yeah,
it's not easy. I mean, it's like, it's like I know I can do it. If I really wanted to, I could do it again. But it's like I'm really feeling good about myself now. But it's like I've kind of been in that situation where, like, I've just felt so much like hatred for myself because, I really couldn't get myself out of a funk that I was in, because I felt, and it's like I would always feel like people look at me a certain way without even knowing what they really think about me. It's like Andrew will tell you. I've given him like the speech so many times. When I first met you and your wife, I look at you guys. I see like all these beautiful people. What do they think about me? And it's like one of the main reasons why when I first started, they would always give me. They would always make fun of how I couldn't sit so close to Jesse, because to me, somebody like me, who I am, the way I look, the way I feel I look, the way I think everybody looks at me, that I shouldn't be sitting that close to like a beautiful woman.
Wow, that's heavy.
Because she shouldn't want to sit next to me, because of the way people have made me feel throughout my whole life, and because of that, that's how I make myself feel, because I feel the whole world looks upon me the way I was growing up.
Coco, you're gonna make me cry, dude.
Look, don't cry. Look, I mean, I can't tell you not to cry. If it happens, it happens. Yeah. But like, all I'm saying is, I've been through that shit. You know what I mean? It's like going bald, being fat. It's like, you know what? You're alive. Be alive. It's like there's certain things that you can change. There's certain things that you can't. If you can't change something about yourself, like losing your hair, then just you're gonna have to live with it. Like I said, it could take time for you to, come to grips with reality that there may not be a cure. There may not be.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's life. But it's not worth killing yourself over. It really isn't.
Dude, I think I'm so glad that you called, and I'm so glad that you gave this, your perspective, because, God, I read some of the stuff on the message forums, and I just want to grab these guys through the computer and shake them and say, there's so much more to life. People look at me as the hair loss guy, and they're like, well, Spencer understands. I understand. I do understand. But I also wanted to develop these resources, and I wrote my book, and I've done the show for 15 years now, almost 15 years, because I want people to know that no matter how fucked up you feel inside or what's happening on your scalp, there is, and I say this is cliche at this point, there's life after hair loss. There's life after weight gain and weight loss, and there's life after being poked fun of your entire life. And if you can figure out a way to come to grips with what you've been dealing with all your life, like you have, Coco, and other people have, and even if you were born a model, you had incredible looks, and you start to lose those looks, which is what a lot of guys are concerned about when they're losing their hair, even if they're not models, but they're losing whatever attractiveness they felt they had. There are ways to get that back. There are ways to kind of circumvent that issue, to work around it, to get yourself into the gym, to increase your intellect, to work hard and be successful at something. And that's, people have to understand that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I understand. People like, if you want to do research and find out what you can do about like your hair loss, and like you read up on everything. You try certain things won't work, but you can't let it overrun your life. You can't like walk around every day thinking of a new way to fix your balding head.
Right.
Because then it just consumes you, and this is what happens. You're in a chat room telling people how you're ugly, that you don't like the shape of your head if you were to shave it, and how it's like
See, but I get it, but I don't. I don't like the shape of my head. I don't think I would look good with a shaved head. But I also can come to terms with, you know what? If I have to go out and, get fitted for like the perfect, hair system and just deal with that, if that's going to make me live my life, I'm going to figure out a way to live my life. I'm not going to sit in the shadows and be fucked up and not get laid and not have fun and not, enjoy what life, God's given me because of my hair loss.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I have this friend, like, we usually hang out at this bar by my house that a friend of ours owned, and, every time I see him, I'm like, hey, dude, every time I see you, you're with, like, a different chick, I'm like, what's your secret? He's like, there is no secret. All it is just, basically, he said, dude, one day I just said, fuck it. He's like, I know I'm chubby, I know I'm not really the greatest looking guy, but I don't go out with in mind that I'm going to get laid tonight or I need to get laid tonight. I just go out and have a good time. If people want to hang out with me, if girls want to talk to me, that'll come. It's like you can't walk around thinking that everybody's looking at you a certain way. And it's like me, I've come to grips with that, and I'm getting better at dealing with that. Because you can't always care about what people that you don't even know think about you. Because you're gonna see strangers wherever you go, and you can't just keep looking at them thinking that they're looking at you a certain way because they could be thinking the same exact thing about you.
And I agree 100%. It's easier said than done, Coco, as you know, but it is so possible to do it. And if you go into the world and you have a certain air of confidence, and you make people feel good about themselves when they're around you, that's what attracts people. Let me tell you, you could be the best looking guy in the world, but if people don't feel good around you, if you're a little bit of an asshole, you're obnoxious, even if you end up getting laid that night, whatever it is, no one's going to be with you. I have friends. I have one friend in particular who was exceptionally good looking. Now, this guy's a hair loss sufferer, and he deals with it, he covers it up, but he does a good job. But, I mean, really good looking dude, like the type of guy like you see on television or whatever, and he would attract women. Women would look at him in the street. We'd go out, to restaurants, whatever it is. He has never been able to maintain a relationship because he's so bitter about things in life. And now he's an older guy, still great looking guy. On paper, you see a picture of him, you're like, wow, that's a nice looking dude. And he's alone in this world. And it's not because of his looks. It's because of his attitude and the way he treats people, because he's unhappy with his life and himself.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm reading like what this guy Scorpion's been writing. It's like how people don't need to work hard. If you have the right looking face, you'll get everything handed to you and all this stuff. And it's like, that may be so, but they could be just as miserable as you are.
Well, that's a good point. I'm going to tell him another story. There's someone very, very close to me in my life. And I'm not going to say who, because I don't want him to know who I'm talking about. He may, if he's listening, he may know. And again, talk about a hot guy, Scorpion. This guy was model material, bodybuilder, body, looked like a Chippendales type of dude. A kid that a few years younger than me, but that I grew up with, who was never able to really succeed in life. And he kind of depended on his looks for a while. But what happened eventually was he was great, always the best looking guy in the room, but maybe there was something that he just wasn't able to make a living off of his looks beyond kind of like the lower end things, like, stripping and things like that. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but, those are the ways he was able to make a living. He's now in his 40s as well, and he can barely complete a sentence. He lost most of his teeth from drugs, and he no longer has those incredible looks. And he was not able to sustain a lifestyle and a living based on his beauty, and most people can't. So that's the way that it is. That's a very sad story. I'm not going to say who it is, but someone who I was very close to growing up. And it's a very, very sad story. I spoke to him the other day, and he could hardly speak to me on the telephone. He's so screwed up. And this is a guy that was born with everything as far as looks. Height, everything. Probably hung like a horse. Who knows? I never saw it. But, I mean, everything.
Yeah.
All right,
I mean,
well, go ahead.
It's like, like I said, just reading some of the stuff in this chat room.
Is your chat working, by the way? Because mine isn't.
I'm using the IRC chat on my tablet.
Okay.
I'm listening. I was listening through Stitcher, and I joined the IRC chat. But I don't know. I mean, it's like reading the stuff that they're writing. Mostly what Scorpion's writing. It's like I hate to single him out, but it's just like it's really depressing to see how depressed he really is, because he's just like everything is like, well, if you're beautiful, you get this. If you're this, it's all about looks to him. But it's like from what I'm always told, because I always feel like I have problems talking with girls and trying to get girl interested in who I am and all that stuff. And it's like people will always tell you it's all about confidence. Now, if you can have a shaved head and have that confidence, I think a girl will see that. It doesn't matter if your head's shaped like, whatever you say you think it's shaped like. If you have that confidence, if you can get through it, get past the depression and realize that this is who you are, this is what you're going to be for the rest of your life. And when I say that, I don't mean a week from now. I mean live your life, a full life. With or without hair.
Look, my brother is, he was killed about going on 7 years ago. And my brother, people always talk about what's worse than hair loss, and people say being short for a guy. My brother was about 5'6", a lot shorter than me. For some reason, I got the height. I used to feel guilty about that. I don't know why, but it's just my nature. But my brother would walk into a room, and he would own the room. I mean, he never had a problem getting really hot women who were significantly taller than him. And he never talked about his height, and it was just like, all right, Al's short. But no one really noticed. Women didn't care. And most people would think, okay, he's 5'6", or there's a lot shorter guys too. It's going to be more difficult for him to get hot women. It was never a problem. Never a problem. He walked into a room, whatever job he wanted. He was a vice president of Merrill Lynch, made a tremendous amount of money. Drove like $100,000 sports car, did everything he wanted with his life, and he was losing his hair.
Right.
So, on paper, according to guys like Scorpion and other people, there was no way he would be able to survive in this world and have a good life. He was happy. That's a guy, sadly, he was taken away from this world. And this is a guy that really wanted to live, that really enjoyed life.
Yeah.
So that's the way that it is, man.
That is the way it is, but like I said, before I go, I just want to say, like I said, live your life. Don't let this kill you, okay? Don't let something like this be your end. Don't let it kill you. Just live, deal with it. I'm not saying get over it, but deal with it, and don't let it bring you down. That's it I can say, I guess, right now. So.
All right, bro. Listen, thanks for the call. Good advice, and I'm always happy to hear from you.
All right, well, I'm always happy to talk to you.
And next time you're not going to be on the show on Friday, you let me know. I'm just kidding.
I will. I'll definitely let you know.
All right, take it easy.
I meant to, but, I'll explain another time.
No, because this way, maybe I didn't want to do it if you weren't around.
No, I hear you.
All right?
I feel the same way. When I come to Andrews and it's like, Spencer's not here, so it's like, you couldn't tell me this sooner.
All right, bro.
Totally would not. All right.
All right, thanks
Have a good night, everybody. Have a great week. Bye.
All right, man. That's Coco Butter from the Guys from Queens Network. I do a program with Coco and, of course, Andrew Zarian on Friday nights. Non-hair related. So if you decide to go to that chat, let's not talk about depressing stuff. It's a happy chat. 888-659-3727 is the toll-free number. I'm going to have to take a quick break. But listen, guys, why don't you subscribe to The Bald Truth on iTunes? I never promote this. And even on the site, we don't have it, which we have to revamp the site. But check out The Bald Truth on iTunes. Subscribe to the program. It really helps the GFQ network. And, we provide the full podcast of the show, both in audio and in video formats. So check it out. Go to iTunes and subscribe to The Bald Truth. Make sure it's my show, because there's a couple of other guys, some bald guy that does some show, I think, called The Bald Truth. But this is Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth. Listen, we've got to take a quick break. When we come back, I will take some more phone calls. You're listening to and watching The Bald Truth. Stay with us.
Hey, the Red Rocker, Sammy Hagar.
And Michael Anthony.
You're listening to the baldest on the planet, Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth. Woo!
Hey guys, welcome back. 888-659-3727. That song goes out to Joe from Staten Island. Joe, wherever you are, we miss you, bro. I will try to get in touch with Joe after the broadcast. Hope to God everything's okay with him. 888-659-3727. Going to take some phone calls, but I'm getting a lot of emails and IMs about what's happening in the chat and with our friend Scorpion. And I just want to let everybody know that this resource, our resources at The Bald Truth, are here to help people in need. And, I want to give people the opportunity to vent and to provide them with, some help and some hope. And hopefully what we're doing here tonight and what we're doing, on the forums and everything else is going to give Scorpion a little hope. I don't want you to continue to think that hair loss equals the end of your life, man. Because I promise you, it does not. It really doesn't. What you have to do is you kind of have to step back, relax. Everyone needs to treat everyone with respect on the forums and on in the chat room, and that goes for people responding to Scorpion as well. I think we have to kind of step back and think to ourselves, well, this guy's really suffering, just like we all are in our own capacity. So I just want to let him know that we're here to help. 888-659-3727. 888-659-3727. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this?
Hey, it's Mr. Wiggles. Hey.
Hey, what's happening, man?
Not much. How you doing, brother?
Listen, I can't complain. So what's going on? You're missing Joe or what?
Well, first of all, I want to apologize if my sound quality isn't that great. My current phone got wet and it's in a bag of rice right now, and this is my backup phone, which
Actually,
is like
it sounds great.
10 years old.
It sounds great.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
Well, old technology works, I guess. Actually, yeah. About a month or two ago, Joe really wanted me to call in, and I never really did. So I figured I would call in tonight and be like, maybe he's listening from afar, and now that I'm calling in, he might gain the interest to call in. But who knows?
Yeah.
You never know, right?
He may, like I said, he may be sleeping. He may be in some sort of drug stupor. I don't know.
Or maybe he's actually having a great day and he's not inside. He's actually went out and enjoyed life.
Wouldn't that be awesome? Wouldn't that be awesome?
That would be fucking awesome. That would be awesome.
We love Joe here, but I mean, if he would just say, listen, Spence, I'm not going to call in anymore. I decided that I've had enough. I don't know how much longer I'm going to live, and I want to live my life. And Sunday's my free day, so I'm going to spend it with my children. I would be so happy for him. But I got to tell you, I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, no, I think he really does have some issues that he's dealing with, and it's a shame. But you know what? Hey, at least he's got the bald truth to vent and things of that nature.
Absolutely. So what's happening with you?
By the way, I want to give you props on the whole thing about respect that you said in the intro just now. It's totally true. People are you do really got to step back and put yourself in other people's perspective. Maybe this guy's being so grouchy in the chat room because he's really hurting right now, and it just might be the cause.
That's it. Listen, and he's been in our forum for a while, and he's caused a lot of people have contacted us who are very unhappy with some of the things that he's written. And yes, I don't agree with a lot of what's been written either, and I see that he's kind of kind of changing some of that, and just calming down a little bit. But I also
Which is a good thing.
But I also want him to know that he has a place to come and to learn and to share his feelings. Because that's why I built all of this. So for me, just for my team to say, you know what, just because this guy's hurting, to this level, he just has to know what's appropriate, what's inappropriate in the message forum setting, and kind of how to act with other hair loss sufferers online and in the chat. And then I think eventually he's going to get it, and hopefully he'll come to the point where he says, you know what, guys, you've all really helped me a lot, and that's what we're trying to do.
And the great thing about actually this chat is that moderators like Andrew and some Cass and Brian, you know, they understand, like, maybe this guy's really hurting, because in other chat rooms, if you were to go in there and treat people that way, they kick him out right away, and then he might go do something really bad.
Right.
You know,
Absolutely.
Because it made him discouraged even more.
Absolutely.
So, you know, it really is a great place to vent. There was one thing, though, while I was on hold. Actually, it wasn't while I was on hold, right before I called in. Somebody in the room, I'm not going to say the name, was saying that the gay community is very hateful to each other and very disrespectful to each other. And I'm a member of the gay community, and I just want to make it very clear, maybe you're centering yourself around the wrong people, because the life I live, I'm very happy. I mean, my hair's thinning a little bit. You know, I'm 30 years old. I'll be 31 in July.
Right.
My hair's thinning a little bit, and I'm not worried about it, and nobody else is either. And these people that think that there's this cliche that the gay culture is obsessed with youth and beauty and stuff like that, you know, there are certain people that are like that, and we try to not associate ourselves with them because they're not good people. And the reality of it is gay, straight, bi, tie, whatever you are, you know, if you are happy with yourself, you're going to treat everybody else with respect, because you have no need to feel the power to make them look bad or feel bad and that sort of thing. And so I really hope this person that said this in the chat room finds some good people in their life and clings on to them, because good people are out there. They really are. They're out there. I'm one of them, and you're one of them, and everybody else in this chat, I hope, is one of them.
I agree. Listen, that was very well said, by the way. I agree with you 100%. The sad part about life is that, and I have to say that since I've been involved in the internet, online, since about 1995, 1996, you know, when I was younger, I thought there was a lot more compassion in the world, because I'm a compassionate person. I thought that there were more people who felt the way that I did about, you know, my views in life and my family's views and the people that I decided to spend my life with. But as soon as I got online, I realized there's a lot of sick mother effers out there, a lot of evil, mean, nasty, unhappy people. And they all come out and congregate online because, you know, they're able to hide behind their monitors and their keyboards. It's a really...
Well, it's more along the lines of, like, Andrew from GFQ likes to say, it's the wild, wild west, you know? You can pretty much say what you want, you know? That sort of thing. But the reality of it is now this growing age is it's starting to turn that you can't say whatever you want. Because nowadays, you know, there's ISPs and things of that nature, and it might come and...
Well, one day I'll be able to talk publicly about some shit that I've been through for the last couple of years. And, you know, believe me, I am a quasi-public figure, limited, you know, public figure, at least to the people that know me. So, you know, I'm out there. And what I do for a living affects other people's livings. What I do...
Well, yes, I completely agree. Whatever you put out gets sucked in, and it affects everybody around you. Like, for instance, if I go to the grocery store and I open up the door for an old lady, she's going to be in a better mood, and then she's going to talk to somebody, and then, like, I mean, it's kind of like pay it forward, you know? It just keeps going. It's a gift that keeps giving.
Absolutely.
It really is, dude.
Well,
go ahead, finish your
No, I appreciate that. And I'm, you know, it's so funny because I'm involved reading the chat, and sometimes I just, sometimes I wish I was just in radio. You know,
I totally get the same way. Whenever I go live, you know, it's hard to keep up with everything because there's like 20 million people talking all at once, and you're like, ooh, what is this person saying?
Absolutely.
Ooh, what is this person saying? But no, it's fine.
Well, when do you go live though? When do you go live?
I usually do it like once a week.
Okay.
Usually like either Monday or Wednesday, around 8-ish our time because we're on the West Coast. But
yeah, I'm gonna check that out. And where do you stream?
Stickham. But don't worry about that. You know, how about this? Next time I go live, I will tweet it, and you'll see it because I think you follow me on Twitter.
I do.
Yeah.
All right, bro. Listen,
So,
I kind of I didn't really forget my thought. What I was going to say was that, you know, being out there and affecting the good, talking about the good and the bad and the ugly of this industry, a lot of people believe who are in the industry that I am, harming them, basically because I'm exposing the truth. They're the low-level laser light guys and the guys that are doing really bad hair transplants. And, these are the guys that really dislike the fact that I exist. So,
Well, if you really look at it, you are harming them because you are telling the truth, which means that they're doing a bad job. So you're not really harming them. You're helping the world by harming them.
Well, exactly. And the point is that, I have been fighting online insanity, online defamation since I started in this industry. There have been doctors out there who have, trashed me on message forums everywhere, for my entire career. And I've had to battle that by exposing the truth. And, the sad fact is anybody thinks they can say anything online. And you just talked about that. But now people really are a lot more, I think they're more aware of the fact that they can get caught doing this, and they're and
very much so.
But sadly, it's still going on. There's a lot of harm being done to a lot of people, and there's a lot of kids that are being harmed.
That will fade out because sooner or later, like for instance, I used to go into a few chats and it made me feel like crap, so I boycotted them.
Right.
I stopped going to them. And sooner or later, people will get the same idea.
Why they make you feel like crap? Were they attacking you in the chat room?
I wouldn't say they were attacking. It was just more along the lines of the way they they treated each other and the way they treated everybody around them. So yeah, in a way, they were attacking me because I was in the chat room. But the point is that if you are respectful to others. It will come right back towards you. It's kind of like karma,
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyways.
Well, listen. I believe I'm a firm believer in karma. So hopefully.
I am. If you do check out my live, though, by the way, it's not like something informative. It's basically more along the lines of just chilling, hanging, having a drink with people, that sort of thing. So.
Well, I love that, man.
Really
I definitely want to check it out. That's my thing.
Oh well, then there you go.
All right, man. All right, Wiggles. Listen, thanks so much for the call.
I'll talk to you later, Spence.
All right.
Andrew, sorry I missed Free For All this last Friday. It was Cool April Nights here. Cool April Nights is a car show, which is a sister show of Hot August Nights for Las Vegas. So it was old roadsters and things like that.
Very cool.
Actually, I had pictures on my Twitter. It's really cool. But sorry I missed it. But anyways, all right. Well, take care, Spence.
Take care,
Wiggles. Have a great night.
Thanks a lot. Take
care.
Bye. Let's take this call. Who's this? You're on the air.
Is this me?
Yes, it is.
Hi, Spencer. This is Tracy. How are you?
Tracy, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine. How are you?
I can't complain. Wow. I'm so glad you called.
Yeah, I'm just concerned over what's going on in the chat,
Well, tell me your thoughts.
Well, you say it's okay for Scorpion to vent. Okay, it's one thing to vent, but it's something entirely differently to be bringing everybody down.
I agree with that.
Into the way that he's doing here, and he's not listening. He's too busy typing to hear what anyone is saying.
Well, why don't you tell him what you want him to hear?
I already have. I think he needs therapy. Definitely. He's got other things going on other than just the hair loss.
Right.
And that's what I'm getting from the things that I read in the forums.
And I have to tell you that, from what I read, I certainly agree. I guess my point is I'm hoping that we can somehow get him to the point where he realizes, okay, a lot of the things that he's writing and the way that he's venting is making people uncomfortable. And,
I agree.
And the fact of the matter is, I told him, as he's in the chat, if he's talking about committing suicide, I have a legal obligation to contact the authorities, even if it's not in this country. And
I felt that too. I'm one of those that has PM'd the Bald Truth about it.
Right. And you're not the only one. A lot of people have, and it's, we're torn. The mods just want to, cut him off. And I see a guy that's really hurting and that needs some hope and needs a little help. And eventually we can help to get him out of this. and he can realize, you know what, he has friends here. There's good people here that are trying to help him. He doesn't have to bring everybody down and necessarily insult people when they, there's some things guys have complained. They put up their pictures and they feel he's insulting, or he's saying that, how can you have a life if you look like this or you look like that?
Oh my gosh, I could have a life,
Well, yeah. I mean, tell us about you, Tracy. I mean, I'm so glad that you called. Tell me about your life and your situation, and I'll stay on the air for a couple more minutes so I could hear from you, because I'm very interested. You've really taken the time to contribute a lot to Bald Truth Talk.
I have a lot of time on my hands right now. I'm unemployed. But
oh, okay. All right.
Hair loss runs very heavy in my family, both for men and women on my mother's side.
Right.
My mother actually looks almost like a Norwood 6, maybe a 5. That's how bad it is. And her sister's the same.
Right.
I did not get that far. My sister is also going through it, but she's 7 years younger than I am. When I started treating it, she started doing the same thing. So hopefully she will never have to go through all the things that I've gone through to be able to get out of the house.
Right. Sure.
Well,
how old were you when you started to lose your hair?
It's kind of fuzzy.
Okay.
It was late 20s, early 30s.
All right.
When it really started to show.
Right.
And it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And what could you do? There was not a lot of, I'm the same age as you, so there wasn't a lot known then about what you could do. Doctors would tell you that there's nothing you can do. They check your blood and all of it.
Especially for women. I mean, it was just, the doctors were just so lost, especially back in our day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's gotten a lot better.
Yes.
And thank goodness for that. And
well, let me backtrack. What was your life like before hair loss?
Well, you probably noticed in the forums that I do play guitar. I was a musician. I did my job, and on the weekends I would go out playing. I would go busking. I was having fun.
Yeah, sure.
But when it became clear that I couldn't hide it anymore, I went into my home, and I only came out to go to work, to get groceries, and that was it.
Yeah. For
10 years. About a decade, maybe not quite a decade, not sure.
So there's no social life?
Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing at all. So I know the depression. Trust me, I know that depression. But it was actually finding the American Hair Loss Association and talking to my primary care physician at the time, who has since retired, and he suggested some things to try to start, just to see if anything could be done about it. And that's when I started treating it. And one thing led to another, and that led me to Dr. Haber, and he took over from there, and now I can leave the house.
Wow.
I feel good about myself again. I look nice. One thing that happened during all that time was I gained a mountain of weight. I've taken it all off, the majority of it. Ride my bicycle again.
Oh, that's great, sure.
I went on a motorcycle ride for the first time in my life a couple Fridays ago, and it was wonderful.
That's awesome. What about, are you dating anybody?
Yes. Yes.
That's beautiful.
And he's a Norwood 6, and he seems to be totally okay with it.
Well, a lot of guys are. I don't know if he's our age, if he's our age or older, but especially when you get to our point in life, I mean, it's just kind of, I listen. I'm not okay with it for myself, but I also know how I would deal with it. So I've come to grips with that. It doesn't have to be my hair. That's how I think of it. Right. And I'll still be happy. It may be a pain in the ass, but I'll find a way to be happy, and that's my whole goal in doing what I do, to tell these guys and the women out there that there are ways, there is life after hair loss, and to waste so much time in your life like you did. And I wasted a few years myself, not a decade, but there are people who have wasted even more. And when I say wasted, you felt like you had no choice.
Right. And You can't get that time back. So you try to catch up and try to live up now,
Well, and that's why I think that, I want to be as tolerant as possible with Scorpion and others who are out there who are really suffering. They may not mean to write the things that they write, and maybe it's because there's a language barrier to some degree, or just a cultural distinction or barrier. But I'm hoping, because he's in the show right now, he's watching and he's listening. I'm hoping he understands that, I want to give him a place to learn and to share and to evolve, and that's why he's still a part of things, even though. I mean, you said that you're one of the gals who, contacted us. We had hundreds of complaints. I've actually never seen so many complaints about a single poster. But I also think that he kind of took a step back for a few days, if you've noticed. Maybe it was about a week. And he came back. He came back on the board. I think he's a little bit more relaxed to some degree. What do you think?
I do see that he's relaxing a little bit. I'd like to see him relax a little bit more,
Well,
you can live your life, and I'd like to see him see that, to get out into the sunshine and just see that you can live your life. It doesn't. The whole world doesn't center on your looks.
No.
It doesn't. Mario, he's 6, over 6, and he's so confident. He takes care of himself, and it doesn't bother him at all. Yes, he's already attractive to begin with, but still, it's the confidence more than anything.
Well, it is, and again, if you're not comfortable with your hair, if you feel uncomfortable, walking around with a shaved head or a close cropped head, like I would if I lost all my hair, there are ways to deal with that, and you know what? There are great ways to deal with that. And as long as you're comfortable with that, the people around you are going to be comfortable, and you're still going to attract women. Listen, I know this great couple, probably the most highly functional couple that I've ever met, and this guy wears hair, and he has an incredible life, and his wife is absolutely stunning, beautiful, unbelievable, and she's totally cool with it, and they're relatively young, and that's it. He doesn't want to be bald. He doesn't feel he looks his best. He doesn't feel like he's going to, be able to enjoy his life as much without hair in his head. So he chose to wear hair. And you know what? To wear hair. And you know what? He met a great woman. He has a great life. He's a very successful person. And that's it. There's life after hair loss for this guy.
Absolutely.
So I just hope that we can get through to all the guys that... and Scorpion, no, he has money now. He didn't have money before he started to wear hair. And a lot of guys don't necessarily, I know guys who are balding without money who still have nice looking women. So I don't know. We'll get through to him. We're all working. I mean, I just want people to have patience. And I know that you're kind of like at your wit's end, Tracy, and you are probably the most helpful human being that I've ever encountered in the world of hair loss. I mean, as far as someone who's not in the industry.
Thank you.
That's true. The time that you take to help fellow hair loss sufferers through Bald Truth Talk, and I know that you're on a Women's Hair Loss Project as well, and you're really giving back, and I, for one, really appreciate it, and I know that our users appreciate you as well.
Well, thank you.
Well, Tracy, listen, thanks for the call. I'm going to wrap it up.
Okay, you have a great night.
All right, and you know what? Call again. I'm so glad that you finally called.
Okay.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Bye. All right, guys, we are going to call it a night. I want everyone to know that I'll be here next week. Obviously, you can go to baldtruthtalk.com forums to chat, to, continue. You can obviously continue to chat in the chat room if you want after I stop broadcasting. But, go to our resources. Check out the baldtruth.com, baldtruthtalk.com for our message forum. If you're a woman dealing with hair loss, please check out womenshairlossproject.com. And until next week, let me just give a shout out to Scorpion. Scorpion, listen, man, we're on your side. There's life after hair loss. You can live a great life, man. I want you to know, from one hair loss sufferer to another, you're not alone. Until next week, be strong and God bless.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for any inconvenience you may have been put to prior to the program. and I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you could now leave by the exits at the rear, that'd be splendid. Thank you.